Yeah, it's really odd. So, oh, there it goes. Okay, YouTube has started. I didn't do anything except stop it and start it again. But YouTube has started. So if you want to move over to YouTube, hey YouTube, we're live. You missed all the talk about dependency tracking and tooling. Sad for you, happy for me. Let's see. I have some garbage in this branch. I don't think it's really going to affect too much if I don't deal with it. Yeah, there's a couple other things that might be worth looking at before moving on. So there's actually two things that I'm going to look at before moving on to Richter, going back to Richter. So we use MWCC GAP, Global Assembly P, whatever the P stands for, which is a wrapper around MetroWorks CC to make it look from the command line more like GCC, but also wrap it in Weibo, which is a minimal wine-like wrapper for command line programs, for DOS-based command line programs. So MWCC is a DOS program. We can't run it directly on Linux, so we have to run it in something. Weibo lets us run it from the command line, and it shuffles all the command line output real nicely. If we look at MWCC PSP, do we have a wrapper just called? No, we don't. Okay. .exe. It is a 32-bit executable. It is, I guess, a Windows executable, but it is just a DOS command line program. I guess linked against Win32, maybe? I don't know why it thinks it's MS Windows. Maybe just because it's 32-bit. I don't know. I don't know enough about Windows compilation to know those details, just that I can't run it directly. So MWCC GAP basically takes arguments that look a lot like GCC arguments, converts them to the equivalent MetroWorks arguments. You can pass MetroWorks arguments. And so what I was doing there, basically the same dependency tracking business. We need a way to build .d files. .d files are our dependency. Yeah. We're back to. Oh, are we? Yeah, we're tracking. Okay, good. .d files are effectively. I just learned this yesterday. They're make targets, and the idea is that AS or AS, the GNU assembler, CPP, GCC, etc., will emit these .d files if you tell it to. They're in the format of make targets with all of the dependencies, and they're designed to be included directly into a make file, which is interesting. Ninja parses them and builds them into its own dependency database. So it's all kind of integrated there. MetroWorks will emit these files if you ask it to. The problem is the way that MWCC GAP works is it will create a temporary directory, create the C file that you want. It stubs out where you have include ASM. The problem, and one of the reasons we use it, is you can't import assembly directly into a C file in MetroWorks, and MWCC GAP fills that gap. And so it stubs out the functions that would have been imported and then compiles them separately, assembles them separately, and then uses the ELF file to kind of inject things where they need to be. Kind of over my head. But because it uses a temp directory and then moves the files where you expect them to be, when you tell MetroWorks, hey, create a dependency file for me, it creates it in that temp directory. You can't tell MetroWorks where you want the dependency file to go. So additional work has to be done to pull that dependency file out, move it to the right place, blah, blah, blah. So I'm working on that, and we should be able to get that maybe in a week or two when I fix that. So next, before we get to Richter, we'll get there eventually. Project Oblivion, who shows up on the stream quite a bit, he posted in Discord yesterday about a function that he's having a hard time starting with. And so I thought we'd look at that and go over maybe how I would start it. He has a bunch of documentation already. Scratch. Well, this is his Scratch. Which one is this? This is the one that's not compiling yet. And it is the PSP version. I don't want the PSP version. I'm actually going to start with, so the PSP version is going to be useful. Excuse me while I find the right link here. The PSP version is useful, but I think M2C does a better job with GCC assembly than it does with MetroWorks assembly typically. And so as a first pass, and Biz Murphy said this, Biz Murphy is another major contributor to the project. He said this about a year ago, made this comment during a stream that he starts with the PlayStation version. It's going to be this one. I grabbed that other link to get the right function name. Not important. This is the right function. And so we don't. It might be a little grosser, but it seems to be more accurate. So I'd like to get this compiling first. And when when we see M2C errors, these typically are because there are macros for the MIPS coprocessor and then custom instructions that only exist on the PlayStation that M2C doesn't support. And so I basically start by getting rid of all those. And we can go to the PSP version actually and see what these are. We have macros for all of these. They're macros in the original PlayStation SDK. And they emit one or more of these sets of instructions. And we'll get it compiling here, but for now, M2C can't deal with it. We can't compile an M2C error. It's just going to be noise. And we actually know that this is right where our instructions are going to be. So we can get rid of these without sacrificing too much. M2C can't help us here anyway. So the only thing that we might do by commenting all this out is maybe like there's the store to SP2C, and then maybe that's an argument to one of these macros, and now it's not being used, and so GCC says it's a dead store, I don't need this. That could happen. I'm not too worried about that. All right, so we'll get rid of those. We have this var S4 and var S7. We need to figure out what those types are. And I always first go to look at, we can find those in the assembly. This is in DAI, stage DAI, which is caverns. Help me, Soten.fun. Royal Chapel. Oh yeah, Royal Chapel, of course. This is the stained glass. And that's kind of another hint as to what we're probably going to be seeing here, which is like 3D geometry, 3D drawing. Whenever we get into the GTE macros, that's typically what it is. And those are hard. 3D geometry is difficult. So somebody already knows that this is the stained glass. And we're just going to figure out basically how to maybe get a little further on this function, not solve it necessarily. So the patterns here suggest to me that these are bytes. So some kind of byte array. It could be like quads. It could be, so if we have RGB values, they end up being quads. But there's something in the padding byte here, so it may just be arrays. So it may be an array of bytes. It may be an array of quad byte struct. Another array, two-dimensional array. I don't know. It does look like it's 4 by something, though. So I'll start with an unsigned 8 array, and we'll go from there. We don't need to know exactly what this is, just close enough. So we'll go find this. So we know it's not a signed 32. It likely not a signed 32. We'll say that it's unsigned 8. If M2C knew this beforehand, would it help? Actually, I'm gonna go. Do I want to go one further? Let's look at one more thing before we get there. Is var? Do we see like var s4 changing in any way? Or do we see struct access like this, where the code would know that it's of size type 4, and it does know that. So it's either a struct of size type, 32 bits, or the code knows that there's a stride of 4. We don't know, but we'll make it a 4. That's fine. And so then var s4 becomes an unsigned 8 pointer. And we can deal with that when we get to it. Var s7. Kind of do the same thing. We can do it from this side too. So we're going up to C here. C is 12. So we're at least a structure of at least 12 bytes, but probably 16, honestly. And go down again and see what are we incrementing by. And yeah, we're a 16-byte array. Where is our global? Our global's here. Again, signed 32. When globals are arrays, this looks like it's just a signed 32 array. So that's easy. Well, we know that it's a quad, though. Sets of 4. And these are probably... this makes sense. Duh. I'm thinking through this in real time. When you have geometries, everything is quads for the most part in the PlayStation. So it's not uncommon to have like 4 dimensions. But why does that make sense? This could be, thinking about it more, it could be pairs of 16. You do need 4 points, but then you would need pairs, and that's not the case here. I don't know what exactly is going on, but I think it's sets of 4, and we'll find out further down. The way the clock tower worked was you had a little script, and it would go through, and depending on the values of that script, it would draw different things in different places. We figured that out on the stream a couple months ago, I think back in March. So maybe this does something similar. We'll see. But now we know that var s7, if since we're calling it a signed 32 pointer, we'll make it a signed 32 pointer. And that should be fine. And it might not be. Maybe there's something else down there. We'll figure that out too. So what else do we need to figure out? We have a lot of unknown fields. One more question mark. Let's get rid of this. We'll just get rid of that whole function. We don't need that yet. We might need it in the future, but not now. All right, so this I would have expected M2C to figure out. We know that gprimbuf is a primitive, and maybe it did. Okay, so we know that this is a primitive. Virus1, it'd be nice to call this prim, but we can figure that out later. So we have these fields that probably are not aligned properly. And so let's figure out what they should be or could be. And that's in, is it in primitive now? It is. So we have fields that align with those. This is GCC being clever. This may be happening in one of two ways. It may be GCC actually being clever, optimizing for 8-bit writes and reads into 132-bit read and write, which is definitely efficient, or it could have been the developers being clever. Either way, this is less portable than I'd like it to be, but we'll do it anyway. So this is R1, and we're reading from R0. And I think, no, this will happen three additional times. And that will resolve those. So we're setting all 4 of these bytes. What's odd is the 4th byte, RGB. 3 bytes makes sense. The 4th byte is always something different. But that's what it's doing. I'm not worried about the warnings. Let's go down to 128, figure that out. So just one by one. This is the var S7. Which we knew was a 32-bit, or I think is a 32-bit, and so we're just going to change this to array access for now. It might be a struct. We don't know. We just have to fix it to compile. And then figure out what it might be later. And we're probably going to get a bunch of those for var S7. Let's do this. Let's replace them all at once. It looks like they might have already all been done. So this is a waste, but we'll see. All right. So what's next? Unaligned is undeclared on 152. var S4, we need to figure out what that is. Not going to worry about this at the moment. So this is a... This is saying it's doing an unaligned load at offset 3. I forget frequently whether GCC... I don't think GCC will pad out unaligned fields in this struct, this version of GCC for PlayStation, which is like 2. I don't know, 2.35 or 3.7 or 3.6, 2.36. I don't know, something old, very old. Not worried about the unaligned. We'll figure that out later. We are overwriting. We're reading, assigning, and then overwriting that. Is that real? I don't know. 154. All of these, this was a byte array. Don't know if that's real or not. So we're just going to fix all those errors. And then have to do it the same way. So virus1_2, we do have to figure out what that is. It looks like a primitive. Oh, and this is the same thing. So it's loading a 32-bit value here. So R1, R2, R3. So we're grabbing all of these, and we have the load word macro to do that for us. I know that I'm not closing my parentheses. I will get to that. And that I forgot a V. All right, next one is on 180. This looks like exactly the same thing. I'm up here as a var. No, it's not var2. Unfortunately. So these were all the same above. var3 is... It says it's a primitive. I don't believe it. I don't think this is a primitive. And so the reason I don't believe it's a primitive is because we're incrementing it by 10. Oh. Let's look at the primitive. What is our last field? Our last field is draw mode. Our last field that's 4-byte aligned is U3. Where's draw mode getting set though? Maybe it's not. So this looks like it might be a mem copy. So let's do that. var2 equals, so what are we doing? var3? That can be tricky. We can't see the instructions generated yet, which is not ideal, but that's what I think is happening there. RS4. That is... We'll fix all those together. That's our byte array. How many do we have left? Not many. We're getting close. RS0. RS0. This is the same thing again. R1 here. Load word. So we're copying a bunch from one primitive to another. And this is R0. And we're doing this just this one time? I guess so. $28 is R3. Every time we see a 32-bit assignment into the primitive, that's what this is going to be. It's going to be a bulk copy of several of the fields. 1C is R2. So we're setting up different things in... this is a like chained assignment. Again, these are kind of nice if you're compiling to see, but we're not. So we'll get there. We'll get there. This is another one, var2. Again, we're copying this primitive wholesale. You don't see this a lot. And then because it's copied, you have to replace the next pointer. We're getting through it. Same thing here. I'm going to get rid of this, though. That's why, actually, this is being done as a 32-bit value, and that's why we're assigning type twice. Missing low on previous block. You have a line number? This is low, actually, as well. I'm not too concerned about getting this perfect. Just if I see the things that are likely an issue, getting them correct. Okay, we'll go back to that when we're compiling and see what's going on. For now, I'll fix the things that I know are obvious. Oh, that should be R1, and then we'll go back and do it for real. The hard parts about this really are going to be these GTE instructions, and I think we're getting most of the types, but we'll see. We might end up with type issues too. Another one of the same things. I can't think of another function that I've done that had so much of these struct copies like this. Not common. At least the ones that I've seen so far. Okay, these are a little stranger. So unknown 10 is R1. And we're going to load that as a word. Unknown 4, so okay, this one's fine. The one that I don't get is this next one, which is offset 8x0. Okay, I guess that's fine too. This is x1. So primitives all have their quad coordinates, as well as the texture coordinates. And then we're setting x1 here back to x0. So swapping our x coordinates. Or 0. Almost done. We're almost compiling, then we'll see how badly we've done. Unknown 20 is x2. Some of these may or may not be out of order. GCC is good at putting these things out of order. 2C is x3. So the alignment here does make sense. It's just these odd bulk copies. So we're at 40%, and what are we missing? We are missing all of our GTE instructions, which looks like a big chunk of it. I'm actually going to go back and steal those from Project Oblivion's other work. Hey, Supreme Quetzal. Supreme Quetzal's on YouTube saying, am I going to talk about the decomp process and unused content? So I really do need to put like some curated content out, I think, because we have found interesting things just live, and I just do it live. I never go back really and curate anything. The unused content one is interesting. We're not necessarily doing a good job of cataloging, except for putting like unused comments in places that we know that functions are unused or unreferenced. So that's probably a good topic to go back to and cover. There are interesting things. I think I recall seeing like switches related to Maria, for example, in the original PlayStation version, even though Maria is not in the original PlayStation version. So there's code that already knows that she could have been a character. I think. Don't quote me on that. And definitely functions that are there that are missing. We definitely find bugs all the time that are clearly copy-paste bugs. The decomp process, I've done a few videos on that, and I do think, again, having a curated video about that would be nice. I probably, because we're so far along on this and have so much tooling, I probably would... I'm going to fork this. I don't want to solve this whole thing. I do just want to go through and get some of the types in place. I probably would start on a new game to like kick off, like how do you start? And there's a bunch of things for starting that I don't know, because I came onto this project and a bunch of this was already done already. And I like a lot of the ways that things are done here, so I probably would base a lot of the ideas on a new project on that same idea. This might be, is this good enough, or what should we do? So Project Oblivion's question was, what are some of these types? How do we figure that out, and what do we do? I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to post this back to Discord and see if there's more or less that he wants, kind of in the vein of getting started on one of these functions. I will say again, like the GTE stuff is hard. Not necessarily hard, you just have to be familiar with it. M2C doesn't know about the T registers, it doesn't know about the coprocessor instructions. Once you know that, it's relatively easy to go back and find these macros. It just, you won't get help from tooling. Oh, no problem. Yeah, if there's other questions people want to know. Yeah, those are the graphics registers, yeah. Well, I mean, they're coprocessor registers. That's not even true. They're temporary registers. The T registers, they can be used for anything, but here they're used for this. And so M2C, if we look back at the decomp, it'll say, is it this one? No, it's the PSP. On the PSP, it will say something to the effect of like, these were never set. Yeah, they're not set because the it's being done by either the coprocessor or other things, and we don't have to worry about that. So that's where I'm going to leave it. I'm going to send this off to Discord, and you can join our Discord, soten.z.dev. You'll find a link there. It's the Soten Decomp Discord, and let Project Oblivion know that you might have a little bit of a hint about where to go. All right, and so now let's get back to Richter, the star of the show. So yesterday was pretty exciting because we found out that, what branch am I on? We found out that Richter looked like a player and looked like Doppelganger and looked like Richter. And so because we know it looks like, because we know that the Richter boss looks like Richter the player, we can find or give names to symbols that we didn't know before. We can find data and what its shape is, which is going to help with other decomp. So let's go back to that branch and I'm going to rebase this and then get my nice incremental build changes in there. And let's build to make sure that everything is working as expected. We did change game.h, which means we have to rebuild the world. So I made one mistake. Oh, One of many. One that I know of anyway. I mentioned yesterday that putting the size in, the size of 3DO, tells SPIM when it comes through that if it sees anything within 3DO bytes of this address, to write the assembly as this symbol plus an offset. Oh my goodness, 9,500? That is a lot of objects. I mean, 1,200 is nice, but we're like 40% in as well. I don't doubt, though, that a 3D game would just have, like, yeah, exponentially more. But then I added this add pressed, and so then SPIM yells at me saying that I have another symbol in the way, and I think it didn't even like that this was commented out, so I'm gonna get rid of that. We'll have to figure that out later, but we have that symbol in place. The other symbol that would be nice to start adding is the Rick underscore symbols, and we can do that by looking at config symbols.us.text, and here we should have like player underscore, and as we go I'll add these. So Richter is going to be the same as gentities64. That's where he's going to start. If I add a symbol for him there, is that where stage entity start is? He might be 128. Let's see. Oh, I need to do that recursively, don't I? Yeah, stage entity start is 64. So I would like to add that symbol. I'm not sure, because I have duplicate symbols for one address now, if SPIM is going to yell at me, but we'll see. So let's build. Yeah, it did yell at me. And unfortunately, we can't see what the error is. So we'll run splat manually. And yeah, it's telling me, screw you, you can't have a second symbol with the same address. All right. We do know, though, that Rick is there at 64, and so when we see things at offset 64, we'll slowly start adding some of these others. And I had... let's look at the doppelganger. Symbols. Yeah, I'm just lazy. Writing the offsets. I mean, it is, yeah, a very simple script. I'm just lazy. One of the issues I think that we have in general is that there aren't a lot of good. There are some good libraries. Maybe they're just libraries that I'm not familiar with for parsing C. So we need something to go through and parse our structs and our enums and be able to accurately assign values, so that we actually do that with linting, but we write all of our own parsers, and they're not necessarily compliant. And so if you go outside of, like, if you put compile time math, addition, multiplication, whatever, our tooling wouldn't find that. So I did just do something, though, where I'm running everything through CPP first, which then gives us a little easier ability to get all the, at least the preprocessor stuff out of the way. Okay, what it was, I want to look at Bobo 4. No, I put these in US. So at one point I had all of these for Doppelganger. And let's see where I got rid of them. When I finished Doppelganger, oh, this is most of them. When I finished Doppelganger, I deleted all of these, but they are valuable. Let's, what do I want to do? Why am I not getting a diff here? My ref and then my file. Am I not, are they, no, I got rid of them all. Yeah. Let's do this. So then this will break a lot of things, but updated 0 paths. What is happening? I grabbed the wrong ref? Maybe. I probably grabbed, nah, I grabbed the wrong ref. Yeah, this is main. Yeah, okay. I grabbed the main. No, this is my commit. Why? Ugh. I'm not getting good. I'm gonna cheat. I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. It feels like something I've done a million times. I want to go to that commit and just grab all the symbols that I deleted. Where do we go? This wasn't all of them, but it's a start. I think over time I slowly deleted these as they were no longer necessary. So let's add those, and instead of Doppelganger, they're going to all be Rick. Hey, Rick. And so now when we export, all of those entity fields will have nice names, and we'll know what they are right away, which is great. I would like to do that for GRIC as well, but having the size right now is a better option. And we'll see how that goes. So the other thing that we should do is add some more symbols for other functions that we know. So let me get back to where we were. All right, so we were at check sub-weapon chain limit, but we have other functions here that aren't named yet. So I'm going to find those in Rick. We could also try to break this into a segment that's about the same size with the same functions, but we don't know what their names are yet, so let's one thing at a time. I think it was do subweapon. Yeah. So anywhere here that we have a function that looks like it's another function that's being called, we're going to change the symbol name. It starts out a little different. I don't see a good equivalent to this current entity, which is fine. Ah, no, it's this one. Rick create entity factory from entity. So we'll grab that. add a new symbol for it. Symbol tables aren't something that we normally think about when writing C. Which paste buffer did I use? They exist. They're just always implicit. But you can use them if you're writing regular C2 and you happen to know the offset of something. It makes more sense in embedded contexts like this. Oh, Needham, good to have you. What type of reverse engineering do you do? There's two things I have to be careful about here. I have to change the name here. I forgot to change the name where we're including it. And I do need to actually change it everywhere that it's being used. Oh, what did I do? I screwed that up. And everywhere it's going to be... Which one was it? Check subwoven. No, I screwed that up, didn't I? Let's revert that. Create ent factory from entity. That's what I wanted. Did I put the right symbol in? I think I screwed that up too, didn't I? Yep, I did. There we go. All right, so everywhere we have this symbol. Now we need OVL export. This won't work with the include ASM though. So Splat goes through, and it's another case where it's parsing the C, looking for lines with include ASM on them, doesn't care what the path is, but then looks for the function name that it's looking for. So we have to explicitly put the B06 namespace there. Oh, old audio and video formats. That's cool and complicated. Much trickier than anything that I've done. Usually, I've done some binary formats, but not much really. I changed. The reason we have to rebuild everything is I changed the symbol table that's globally used. So every overlay depends on that symbol table, so every overlay needs to be recompiled. So even though we have nice dependency tracking now, we can't rely on it when we change the root of all knowledge. All right, let's get back to figuring out these symbols. Looks like Rick animation is the last one that we have. And we're gonna run into the same problem here. I'm gonna call it B06 for ease, and then go back and fix the ones that can be fixed. Because I need that in the symbol table too. And this symbol table, fortunately, is a smaller symbol table. So we should only have to rebuild Richter. And we're always checking basically these lines. It's great if everything builds. If I build the PlayStation or the PSP version as well, there's some conflicts right now with DRA, so that fails and can be ignored. To my music playlist, it's just YouTube free music. There, I could make a playlist, but it's kind of pathetic. I was originally playing like the Soten soundtrack and other video game soundtracks, but you get demonetized pretty quickly when you do those things. All right, so now we have two new functions which we have the name of, and I think we'll just kind of follow the chain. And let's see where that function is in Richter. I'm guessing that this is going to be pretty similar. But this will also kind of inform where it's likely that our file boundaries are too. What is it? Rick set animation? Oh, this is a tough one. This is a this is a big one. I don't know if everybody's ready for this. So here we go, Rick set animation. This should be a if I didn't think that this was just going to be decompiled automatically by M2C, I would start a timer. But starting the timer is going to take longer than just running this through M2C. So we're going to look at B06, non-matchings, US 39144, B06, Rick set animation, B0, not 0. And this should be very short. Oh, not terminal command. It is very short, looks the same. This is actually a function that we could share, and if a lot of this file is the same, it's probably reasonable to share it. So, Symphony of the Night. We know what the args are. Sometimes I like putting the args in beforehand. That helps M2C, so I'll do that. I don't, unfortunately, I'm getting ahead of myself. And haven't gone through and deduped a lot of the shared code. Oh, by the way, it's done. Easy. M2C did the work for us. So we have that one. It didn't really give us much though. Create end factory from entity. We'll see how that one is any better or worse. Usually there's some bit twiddling here, but it may delegate all of that to another function. We'll see. That's our declaration. Where is the definition? Guess I could look for the return value. Oh, there we go. And again, this hints at where this might live. So I will try to eventually structure this to look a lot like Richter. The more they look the same, the more likely it is that we can share code between them. Was the code shared originally? There's a lot of hints that say maybe. We know that there's a lot of copy paste. Is there anything in here that is unique? So we get another function, get free entity. Get free entity looks through the entities table specifically at certain indexes, so in this range, and tries to determine if any of those entities are currently being unused. It looks like this version from the comments here. Oh, sorry. Apologies, window. This version is the Richter, player Richter is different from DRA. So it's possible that our version is going to be different too. There is a stage version of create ent factory from entity. It may be more similar to something like that. We could look at that function as well. It may be exactly that function. Let's find out. So we could do a couple things. First I'm gonna just find it. We'll look at it and see. See where it is. I need to put a wildcard there. It's prefixed with B06. B06 is the file name that's on the disk. So our other find entity in range, that's going to be this function here. So we'll create a symbol for that and then re-export. Our range is going to be 68 to 80. So similar span, but offset by the stage index. I think everything else is the same. Hey, Reg or Reg? Reg for Liz? Regaliz or Regaliz? Reg for Lidge. Nice to have you. Thanks for joining. So let's add that symbol first. And then we'll re-export. And then I think it's going to be very similar, where it's effectively the same function, just a copy for Richter, or not Richter, boss Richter instead of player Richter. The Richter overlay may or may not be loaded at this point, so we can't rely on the Richter version of this function, even though it's possibly the same implementation. There also may be other dependencies here. So the get free entity function, for example. No problem at all. So we need to go find this 21c function and fix its symbol name in this file 21c. Let's do 21c. I think that's the right one. Build, make sure that works. What do we do? Just a semicolon. Oh, good. Glad you could. Miss the equal sign, missing everything. Glad you could catch the stream. It's definitely more fun when people stop by. So now we, when the symbol table changes, there's dependency on the splat config on the symbol table. So splat gets rerun and regenerates our disassembly. And now, since we added that symbol, the symbol name gets used instead of the automatic one. And so now when we're going to copy this, go over to decomp.me and create a new scratch with that. I'm not going to put in... Should I put in the we know what the function signature is for get free entity. I might as well put that in. Sometimes that helps with types, and so far we haven't had to use the PSP version for anything. The PSP version is sensitive to types less so than, or more so than the PlayStation version. The PlayStation version basically doesn't care about types. GCC versus MetroWorks is not just GCC versus MetroWorks, but optimized versus unoptimized. Those are kind of the big things. So we have an implementation of this already. We could just copy paste it. That's probably the right thing to do and save the work. Let me look at a few things here. So I'm just flipping back and forth between the one that we have and the one that we're looking at. The main difference that I see off the start is returning early when a free entity can't be found. I do want to keep as many of the names as possible. The more similar this is, and the more like diffable it is to find the right thing, the more likely that this could be shared in the future. So I'm going to start with the Richter version, and if the Richter version doesn't work, I know that these offsets are going to be different. There might be other differences. So if we run into some other issue, we can always go back. And I could have put the arguments here in as well. That might have been useful. There's actually a third argument that's unused, and that third argument is probably something that's used in the DRA version of the game. So I don't have eFactory. eFactory is an enum that I haven't started yet, so I'll start that. And that's an equal one. These are going to be entity IDs. I think that's the capitalization that's used. Entities undeclared. Oh. Because I copied and pasted badly. Awesome. Glad to learn. The whole point of this is, one, for me to learn, and I've learned a ton over the last year doing this, and then obviously to teach as well. There's coincidentally, when I went to college, our computer architecture class was done in MIPS assembly. And so 20 years ago, I knew MIPS assembly and could have been doing very similar things, and I wasn't. Because I was a dumb kid. All right, so we have a few other differences here. We have some extra code that wasn't in the original, so less likely that this could be shared in the future. So we're not checking source or any of the source flags. So we don't have to do that, and that's all there is. Parent pointer must align. Oh, so this is a comment from a long time ago. We actually have checks for this now. I'll show that too. So this is kind of a tricky thing. In these entity extensions, the extension is, I forget how many bytes now, between 8 and B. So 9A, 30-ish bytes of data that entities can use for whatever they want. But in this case, when you're using this entity factory method to create a new entity, it has to have a parent pointer that aligns with all of the other entities that do the same thing. And I think we have an offset of... Nope. How are we doing this? Way at the bottom, we have this sync field, these sync field macros, and he's actually checked this for us at compile time to make sure that if there is a parent macro, that it's being checked for appropriate alignment. And so if we have to create a new entity extension for Richter, I'm hoping that we can basically reuse all the ones that exist already, but we would have to put another entry here, and that just makes sure that, especially for cross-platform builds, that the alignment of those fields remains the same. And that was added maybe 6 months ago or so, and a really good idea. Really nice to have that in there. But this, yeah, so this is almost the same. It's just missing that last check for flags. So nothing more to do there. Pretty simple. A lot of this, I think Richter code is going to end up being the same way, where we can effectively reuse most of the code from Richter player for Richter boss. And so from that perspective, it's a little less exciting. What's nice though is this code is already compiling on both PlayStation and PSP. So the more we reuse, the more likely that this is also compiling on PlayStation and PSP. And so we need one last thing. We need to start the entity table. Usually the first several entities are all the same. So I don't know of any cases where they're different, actually. We'll go look at Doppelganger 10. Oh, Doppelganger 10. All its entities, IDs are the same as Doppelganger 40. So typically these first 13, we can just take. And there's so much shared code between all the stages. And bosses are stages. That we actually need to name the enum for some tools and give it a nice type def as well. So we'll have more that follow this, but that's the start, and everything should line up. I don't think some of these will exist. Does Doppelganger have a red door? Doppelganger does have a red door. Can we use it in the symbols file? No, the symbols file is doesn't go through CPP. So it's and we don't do any processing on that file. We're limited to a certain extent. So that file is read by both LD and Splat. Splat is actually more strict about what you can do in that file than LD is. LD is the linker, the GNU linker. So LD would support like arbitrary comments and things like that. Splat, and probably more specifically SPIM, SPIM the disassembler, it expects like certain attributed comments, exactly symbol name equals address, semicolon, without anything extra in there. And so it's the parser in SPIM doesn't give you as much flexibility, and so we're pretty limited. Could we have a pre-process step? Yes, but that adds complexity. And all those, we talked about this on Discord a month or so ago, regarding removing symbols. Basically, I consider the symbol table a to-do list, eventually all these should be gone, and we shouldn't have anything in this list. The reason we need them now is because we have references in assembly that need these specific VRAM addresses. And we have assembly code that we need to generate that, if we have nice names for, is easier to decompile. As we get rid of those things, though, as we import the data that references these, as we decompile the functions that reference these, we need less and less and less. And so if you look at something like, what is something that is very decompiled? Let's just look at all the symbol tables for find config symbols.us.text. Let's find a small one. Yeah, so this is a good example. I thought center would be a good one. Center has 0 symbols in the symbol table. That's because absolutely everything is decompiled. All the data is decompiled, all the functions. We don't need any external reference to any of those. It's all done by the compiler. And that's what we would expect. All right. Let's keep going. Do we have everything that we need so far? We don't. We have one more symbol that we know, which is get free entity. And then, unfortunately, I think we need to start again and find a new place. Oh, I need to make sure that this works. That'd be good to do. It works. So I think get free entity is the last one we know the name of, and unfortunately it doesn't reference any other globals that we don't know yet. So what we'll be able to do at that point, though, is get a feel for the layout of this overlay, get an idea of, does it follow, like, do functions follow the same order as Richter the player? Regaliz is saying that he knows that Iga has the source on a pen drive. All they did was replace the graphics with 3D graphics for Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. I was excited about a new Bloodstained. On the one hand, I am totally excited for the new Bloodstained game. Who couldn't be if you're a Metroidvania fan? On the other hand, what is it? Jonathan, Charlotte, is not something I look forward to again. And I thought Miriam was a great character. I'm going to miss Miriam. Line 89? Line 89, you say? What is this line 89 you speak of? I missed one? Let's do this free entity one, and then I actually probably need to call it a day. Now it's 93. Oh, check subwoven chain limit. That one's going to be more interesting. Let's do that one. Thank you. Appreciate it. Does it? No, we did that one. So as these get finished, when we split, they show up in the matchings directory. So we can kind of see as well where, how far we've gotten by which functions show up there as well. Its argument is function. Oh, 93. I'm not paying attention. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. We do have a function call there. Thank you. That is in PL. No, I have to remember. PL sets steps. PL main. I can't remember. PL set step. Why is that in set step? So the names of these files, the names of these functions are all variables, things like that. They're all things that we have to come up with. We don't... Occasionally, we'll find something that hints at a symbol name, or like if it's something from the PlayStation SDK, a lot of those symbol names are in the binary. For the vast majority of the Symphony of the Night specific stuff, we don't have symbol names, and so these are things that we've come up with. Same thing with the file names. We can kind of tell where file boundaries are in some cases, especially with different versions of the game, when we see sets of functions that are maybe in a different order, or like a subset that's in the same order, but that set is in a different order compared to everything else. It's likely that those were in the same file and kind of in their own little unit. But what those files were named, we name them based on, what we think a good name for them would be. Oh, and do we not have this? Do we not have something similar here? Check subweapon limit. With a function to get the subweapon call. Yeah, okay, so we have another function that looks like it's getting the subweapon ID that doesn't exist in the original one. So that looks like it could be possibly unique. Or am I just mistaking that for check subweapon? My guess is that it's, yeah, okay, it's probably check subweapon. And I just wrote this in a bad and different way. And so I probably should go back and refactor this to look more like the original. But I'm not going to do that. I'll do some of it now. So let's take subweapon ID. The reason we want to make it look the same is because Richter is compiling on PSP. And the more that this looks like the original, the more likely it is that this will compile on the PSP. And it's always a little tricky to do these refactors in the repo as opposed to in decomp.me, but in this case it seems fine. This needs to be a reference. And SP10 is gone now, isn't it? Chain limit was a variable as well. I guess we'll pull that out as well. The PSP tells us a lot about whether these are variables or just references, or like struct access directly. And so if there is a variable for it in the original, I'm going to create a variable for it here too. Does that look good? Am I getting errors? SP10 doesn't exist anymore. Hmm. Oh, I went too far, didn't I? Let's back out all that. So here we were. Source compiling fine? Yeah. Okay. So SB10, I'm just going to do a find and replace for that. Call that subbutton. And that should be fine. And I think it was pulling the chain limit out. I guess that is not where I screwed up. No, that's fine too. Okay, so I messed something else up. All right, so now, yeah, Dizek was right. We can add the symbol for this function as well. The other thing we might see along the way is things like this, create ent factory from entity. And this will have like a blueprint ID. And this will tell us basically what this thing is. Blueprints are, they're these packed structs of details of how to create whatever the next entity in this chain of entities is. And so in this case, it's the skid smoke, which is its own thing. Entity comes from basically, I don't know if they were called entities back in the 90s, but that's kind of the current terminology for. Would Objective CLI help? Well, so we don't have a source.o file. The original, for overlays at least, all we have is a. Oh, are you saying? But you're saying not the. Okay, let me back up. You're saying from the disassembled.o that we create to the compiled.o. Yeah, that probably would actually help. And there's no reason that that I shouldn't be using Objective. Yeah. How helpful would it be? What I've thought about recently is, can we get the REPL? So I considered like decomp.me. This is a nice read, evaluate, print loop, right? Everything I do, I get instant feedback. And so what if we had that locally instead of as a web app? Would there be value to that? Would the turnaround be faster for doing this with it? But then you lose a lot of the community and sharing aspects of it. I should probably put Objective is already a command line tool, right? Do I? Is it in apt? It is not. It gives me screenshots, which is not necessarily what what I want to see for my tooling. Oh, so yeah, maybe there's just a GUI in addition. I feel like I've had object diff running before locally, and for some reason it just didn't stick. I don't know. Okay, but I need to focus. Let's focus. Get these last two done, and I don't have my symbols anymore. And this is going to be sublevel. What did I do? Thank you again, Desic, for pointing that out. Get free entity. That's going to be in, I think, PL util. Nope. Blueprints. So sometimes I'll go out on a limb and we'll look at the assembly first. But what is the likelihood that this implementation is exactly identical? I think it's pretty high. And can we get away with not even going to decomp.me? That was something I did a couple times on the stream as well. Let's not use decomp.me. Let's just read the assembly and see if we can figure out what this function does. And for small functions, that's not too bad, actually. We're looking at non-matchings again, 39144 and 306. So we're just going to look at this, compare it to the blueprints implementation, and see if we can follow along with the code. And if it looks the same, we'll try. We'll try to just shove it in there. And get rid of a bunch of the spacing here. Get that all on the same line. All right. So do we start by looking at G entities? Yes. Shift left by 16 and then shift right by 16. Basically, we're making sure that we're only looking at 16 bits of a value. So if we took in 32 bits, basically this is confirming that we're looking at a 16-bit value. No issue there. And then we're taking A1. What are we doing? Optimizing our check to see if A1 is, where's A0? If A1 is and A0 are the same, we're gonna basically we're gonna leave right away, right? 284. Yes. We're going to the end, returning null. So GCC is not even going to load this entity. It does in a roundabout way. It does it in the delay slot. Otherwise, it's not. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. It calculates the offset in the delay slot, but doesn't load the entity ID until that branch succeeds. So it avoids a read out to main memory. Even though it looks like we're doing that here, it's not really. So we're incrementing I, checking V0, right? Oh no, this is the increment. The way increments work in loops, the way GCC does them is kind of odd. This is the check for the end. This is the increment of the entity. And where is our check for 0? Here's our branch not equal to 0 here for V0. Okay, so I do think that these are the same. So let's just try to shoehorn this in and see if it works. We need get free entity. I'm pretty sure it's going to be fine. What could go wrong? I don't think we can make this static yet because what static will do is avoid putting the symbol in the elf file or the .o file, and we need it for linking later on. So we can't linking with the assembly. So we can't make it static yet. We can give ourselves a hint that it should be static, but we can't make it static. And that was fine. And then we have one more, the check subweapon. And this one's a little longer. We don't yet have this global symbol subweapon stuff. We would be able to find it probably pretty easily, but I think I'm going to end it here. I think we could probably do the same. Actually, no, we couldn't. G status, we're going to have another global symbol for G status. It's going to be a copy of the player's G status, probably. There might be some differences here that we need to look at, and I don't have time for that. But I will get back to it. So what are we doing? We're looking at the Richter boss. The Richter boss, thankfully, I want to make sure that I'm not fooling myself here. I'm pretty sure this won't work if this is static. Well, what do I know anyway? I think if these are in different... No. I really didn't think that would work. Is it possible that No. Anyway. I feel like I've run into situations where I had symbols like this that were in... I know why it works. It works because it's in the symbol table still. And so even though I'm saying that it's static and it's not getting an entry in the compiled symbol table, static meaning only things local to this file should be able to see it. The symbol table tells us where it is because it's duplicated there. Not important either way, just something to know. So we're decompiling Castlevania Symphony of the Night, working on the Richter boss. You can go to soten.z.dev and learn more about the project. Join us on Discord. See the source code that we've decompiled so far. I'd say we're about 40%-ish of the way done. The bosses are much harder than the stages, though. So we've not done many bosses yet. We have done top recently. Oh, inaccessible. What does that mean? And our top, I still haven't submitted our top for PR. I should do that. I don't know what inaccessible means. But check our progress there. And obviously the timelines over on decomp.me as well. See where we're going and what we've done. But that's all I got for you. Adios. Thanks for joining Dizik, Roaming, Reguliz, Everdread, Needham. Appreciate it. Oh, Supreme Quetzal, of course. Adios.